Hello kids, welcome back. In today's class, we are going to be looking at multiplication of whole numbers. Previously, we discussed addition and subtraction of whole numbers. But this time, we are going to be looking at multiplication, which is repeated addition. Repeated addition. So what that means is, if I say 2 times 3, it does the same thing as 2 plus 2 plus 2. So 2 times 3 is adding 2 in 3 places. That gives 6. So 2 times 3 is 6. Now let's look at some multiplication basics. Number 1, multiplication by 0. It is very important to note that multiplication by 0 always give 0. In other words, if I am asked to multiply any number, whether small or big, the answer is always 0. Alright. The second one is multiplication by 1. Whenever you multiply a number by 1, the result remains the same. It doesn't change. Okay. So 345, for example, multiplied by 1 is 345. You see, the number does not change. It remains the same. Okay. Now, let's look at some examples. We have 2 questions here. The first question is to find the product of 522 and 283. It is important to remember that product means times. Now let's look at the solution to question number 1. Now you need to look at the arrangement of this number. Now, when you are given a number like this, you must multiply the 522 by 2, 8, and 3, one after the other. Alright, so you discover that you are going to get 3 lines because there are 3 numbers to multiply. 3 lines. Now, but we are going to start with the 3. The 3 has to multiply everything. Alright, the 3 has to what? Multiply everything first to get this first line. Now let's begin. 3 times 2 is a 6. 3 times and the second 2, another 6. 3 times 5 is a 15. Alright, so you get the first line by multiplying by 3. Now the next number is 8. So you're going to multiply everything on top by 8. So first of all, you must take note. As I'm multiplying by 8, I'm going to start writing down my answer under 8. For example, 8 times 2 is 16. So I will write down the 6 here, not here, not there. Okay, I'll write down the 6 there and carry 1. So 8 times the second 2, 16, plus the 1 I carried from the previous one is 17. So I put down a 7, carry 1. 8 times 5 gives me a 40, and so I add the 1 and I get 41. Note that the 41 is not written under the 1. only 1 is written under 1 and the 4 is moved to a new position. So take notes. Then finally we have a 2. 2 we have to multiply everything. So 2 times 2 gives you a 4. 2 times the second 2 gives you another 4. 2 times 5 is a 10. Again, you don't try to put the 10 under 4. You put only 0 under 4 and move the 1 to a new position. Alright? Now, lastly, we have to do the addition of the results. Now, let's say 6 is written down. 6 plus 6 gives you a 12. You write down 2 and then carry 1. 1 plus 5 plus 7 plus 4 is a 17. You write down 7 and carry 1. 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 4 gives you another 7. 0 plus 4 gives you 4. And then you write down the 1. So your answer is 147,726. Alright, now we go to the second question. There are 225 rows of chairs in La Gala Event Center. If the arrangement contains 320 columns, how many chairs are there in the hall? How many chairs are there in the hall? It is very important to understand what row is and the columns. So if you don't understand this, you might not be able to answer a question like this. Alright, now we are going to the board to look at the meaning and the concept of rows and columns. Alright, now I'm going to do something now to show you, what rows and columns are. Okay, now look at this line. Yes, the horizontal line, the first horizontal line, there are 3 of them. The first horizontal line, the second one, and the third one. Alright, so these 3 lines, they are horizontal and they contains 5 stars each. You can see 5 stars each. So these lines are called rows. Each of them is a row. So there are a total of what? 3 rows in this arrangement. Then also look at this. Alright, okay, you can see what I'm talking about. Now in this case, you discover there are 5 different lines. These lines are not horizontal, they are vertical. They are going up and up, down, up, down. Alright, so we call these vertical lines, and they are what? Columns. They are what? Columns. Each column has 3 stars if you count. 3 stars. Alright, so this is what is meant by rows and columns. So if I am interested in knowing how many stars are there in this arrangement, it is very important for me to know that the rows are 3 and each row has 5 stars if you check. So that also corresponds to the number of columns in the arrangement. So sometimes the question is, there are 3 rows, each row has 5 stars. And so you can find the number of stars in the arrangement. But we can also replace that by saying there are 3 rows and 5 columns. So it means exactly the same thing. Alright. Now, to get the number of stars in this arrangement, the number of rows are multiplied by the number of columns. So we have rows multiplied by columns to give you the number of stars in the arrangement. So 3 times 5 is 15. So this is just to understand the concept, but we are going to apply this to what we are doing. Okay, now it's time to go and look at how we can apply this. Since it means to multiply, we simply go to the next and then multiply. Look at this. We have rows 225, columns 320. So we are going to what? Multiply them. So the same arrangement as before and the same method of multiplication. So when we do that, we are going to get exactly what we are seeing now. And the next step is to add. And when we add, we are going to get 72000. All right, 72000. So that is 72,000, or rather 72,000. Now, therefore, we can conclude by saying there are 72,000 chairs in the hall. So when you are done multiplying, the result is what we call the final answer. So always remember to write your conclusion. This is very important. Thanks for watching. See you in the next class.